Cashflow Pro offers free money management advice to help you take control of your finances. And now here's your host, personal finance enthusiast and licensed insurance broker, James Barber.
Good morning, evening, good evening. It's not morning anymore. Welcome to Oregon Cashflow Pro. My name is James Barber. I'm here to help you maximize your cash flow. This is our Wealth Care Wednesday live stream. We're here to do a live Q&A on all things finance. If you've got questions, put them in the chat. I will do my best to help bring you some value, answer your questions, help you maximize your cash flow. Tell me how you guys are doing. What are you doing out there to maximize your cash flow? Are you doing anything unique maybe to pay down your debts, grow your wealth? Do you have any money that you regularly get into your hands that you're basically not getting any advantage of? That's what I'm here to help. That's what I'm here to help you do, is to maximize the use of every dollar that flows through your hands. I do all kinds of videos on dynamic banking, which everybody should be practicing in some form. There's no cost to doing it. All you got to do is just watch the videos and learn how to do it. And the idea is to just help you move your money more efficiently. So I got all kinds of videos out there for that. We've got videos out there on infinite banking, life insurance, high cash value life insurance, on ways that it can help to serve it can take the place in part of your portfolio of the conservative part of your portfolio, but give you better potential growth than just putting your money into money market or some other very conservative investment that's there just in case the stock market crashes. There are other ways to meet those needs with different products that can help you maximize that cash flow and provide some other benefits along the way. So a lot of neat things out there. I'm here to expose you to those ideas. So what you choose to do is up to you. David, good evening. Tesla and Piton rocketing. It was a good day for a lot of stocks that I look at. GameStop blasted off. AMC blasted off. I own some AMC options, so those ones are doing well. I sell calls against them. I've been doing it since January. So the calls that I bought leaps for January 2023. Those are paid for. Those are essentially free. So I'm just planning to keep selling calls week after week and month after month, and just keep turning that into steady income. So I don't get to take full advantage of this. I want to say squeeze, but it's not. It most likely is some type of a squeeze going on. I don't get to take full advantage of it because I'm not planning on selling those leaps. I'm gonna just keep plodding along, keep selling the covered calls. I could just sell them up at this top if I didn't have covered calls on. But I think in the long run, I'm better off to just keep rolling my covered calls, keep collecting that income, keep getting those premiums, and I'm okay with that. So that's what I'm doing with AMC. Tesla had a nice update. Yeah, I unfortunately, David, I was sitting on some puts. I had them since yesterday. Yesterday and today kicked my butt. I just took the loss today on them and hopped into some calls and made a little bit, very little bit of it back. I did not get to take advantage of some of those. So yeah, good on whoever was able to take advantage of those nice runs to the upside. I was too busy trying to manage those puts that I was in from the other day, and I basically missed out on the opportunities. So it was unfortunate. But you know what? Sometimes that's the way the cookie crumbles. I just got to come back, reset, and just get back to my game plan. Mr. B, good evening. Quick question with selling calls, he says. Selling covered calls. Fire away. Does it get exercised at break-even price or strike price? If it gets exercised, it's exercised at the strike price. So if you sold a covered call at, say, $20 on AMC, if the person you sold that call to exercises it, they're going to pay you $20 per share. The break even is going to change depending on if you sold the call or you bought the call. So your break even is going to be $20 plus however much you got for that option. That's what you, if it goes above that, you missed out on some gains. If it's below that when it gets exercised, you didn't miss out on any gains. In fact, you ended up better off. If it's below the strike price at expiration, it expires worthless and you just keep the premium. That's how it works. All right, yeah. I mean, these things are pretty simple once you get it figured out how these things work. It's all very complicated if you're just trying to grasp this stuff, especially in the abstract. Once you start playing around with it, though, and if you ever get exercised, it'll be fairly obvious. I've been exercised a couple of times. Not been happy about the times I've been exercised. Although one of the times I got exercised was on a put that I had sold. And I was planning on just keep rolling that thing until it came back to positive. Didn't get the chance to do that. And another one I did was on a call. Actually, no, I got exercised 3 times. I had leap options on Workhorse. And because I had leap options, I needed to make a lot more money before it got exercised. But Workhorse had dropped, and so I was selling covered calls at a lower amount than I would wanted to. And so when it got exercised, I was not above my break even. So that one kind of stunk. And then I had Blink. I had Blink leaps. Basically, I got kind of screwed when they got exercised and I was using leaps. I love leaps. There's a good opportunity there to use those in place of owning the actual stock. But you just got to watch out and make sure you're in a position that you're selling covered calls above your break even on those leaps. That way you're not gonna be upset if it gets exercised. You did another NNDM call option today. All right, tell me about it. M. Smith, good evening. Does anyone know, are there any brokerages that let more people, not just huge accounts, sell naked calls or puts? Yeah, there's brokerages out there that will do that. You got to be very careful though. So, I had an account with TD Ameritrade. This is a major warning story, okay? I had an account with TD Ameritrade. They gave me the option to do naked calls and puts. I didn't have any issues with that. I actually thought it was awesome because it doesn't use very much collateral. I made the mistake of thinking after GameStop blasted up the first time and came back down that, it was hanging out down around $47, that it was done. And I thought, oh, I've got about $8,000 extra in my account right now. I could sell a few naked calls of GameStop up around $100. Make a little tiny bit. I could make the premium they were going to, or the collateral they were going to require was about $400. And I would make about $20 selling a call at $100. I just happened to do that on the same day that it decided to break out again. I sold these calls 2 days till expiration. And that night, the share price shot up. My $400 collateral on all of these options, I had sold 11 or 15 of them, something like that. My collateral went from $4,000 for all of them up to $270,000. Ouch. Those options that I sold, they gained in value that evening, and I couldn't get out of them because the market had closed. And the share price kept going up. Share price went up to $187. Those options that I sold for $11 ended up at $30,000 per option that night. They went up in value 75,000%. something like that. It was some enormous. You never want to see that happen. This is the warning. Don't sell naked calls. It ain't worth it. It isn't worth it. You got to cover yourself. Because what happened is that all happened after the market closed. I couldn't do anything. I called TD Ameritrade. I said, hey, I'm going to need to roll these because we know the price is going to come back down in a week or a month. I just need to roll it out and we'll just wait for it to come back down. And they said, well, we can't do anything when the market's closed. Call back in the morning. I was like, okay. And they said, we'll make a note on your account that you're going to do this. I said, okay. I called back in the morning and I called back before the market opened. GameStop was already on its way back down. It was down at like $111. Those options I had sold were worth way less than they were the night before. Still a lot and more than the margin I had available. But this is like, I'm on the West Coast. Banks hadn't opened yet. I called in and I had an hour and a half wait on the phone. 2 minutes before I got in touch with somebody, they started liquidating my account. By the time I got on the phone with somebody, I was frantic. I'm like, stop selling my stuff. All we need to do is roll my calls. I'm going to be fine. I will get some money put back in this account to cover my margin. All we got to do is roll this out. Nope. She was like, oh, I need to transfer you to a different department then. I got to transfer you to our margin department. I'm like, okay, do it, but stop selling my stuff. She put me on transfer, another 15-minute wait. And while I was on hold with them, they sold everything. Liquidated my entire account. Pissed me off. I was so mad. I was so mad at them. And that's the risk when you run margin. They have no obligation to give you the opportunity to put money into your account. No obligation. So for people who don't have that money readily available, you're screwed. If you don't have enough money in that account, you're screwed. I couldn't even wait until the banks opened to move money. Couldn't do it. And they sold out of my position. And 2 days later, so they wouldn't let me roll it. I was trying to roll it while I was on hold. It wouldn't let me roll it. 2 days later, at expiration, I would have actually lost, if I didn't roll it and I just waited, I would have lost like $5,000. As it sits, they liquidated my entire account. I lost like $100,000, $140,000, something like that. I was very not happy. Still not happy with them. That was TD Ameritrade. Other than that, I actually liked them. I had talked to them before. I had margin calls before on them. And they told me, we generally give you 3 days to cover your margin call. Even though they don't have to. They generally give you 3 days. They didn't even give me an hour into market open when something spiked up overnight. So let that be a warning to you. Had I not sold the covered calls, I would be a much richer man today. Had I covered my calls, had I just bought a call somewhere around there, not gone naked, I could have covered it. I could have covered it by buying something around there. I would have been fine. But I didn't, and lesson learned. So that really sucks. Learn from my lesson. Don't repeat it. You got to be really careful. Yeah, TD is owned by Charles Schwab. You got to be really careful selling naked stuff. Naked puts are okay. I would still absolutely do naked puts. So check out TD Ameritrade. Just know that if you don't have enough money in your account, they can and will screw you over. But they do offer those things to people if you know what you're doing with options. I just didn't have the funds readily available to cover any margin. So to cover all that margin call. Who would have thought? It was like a 500-year flood happened 1 month after the last one. I wasn't expecting it. Lesson learned. So be careful out there, folks. Mr. B. All right, let's see. You did another NNDM call option. 25, 618 expiration date, 750. Came out to like 1,275 premium. Good for you. That's awesome. I love doing covered calls. Love doing covered calls. My recommendation to folks is if you just focus on accumulating shares of companies that you own, you could just sell covered calls against them and have a nice income down the road. You might have you don't even have to worry about the share price day in and day out. You just keep accumulating those shares. 10 years down the road, you got thousands of shares. You could sell dozens of covered calls and just make a nice income stream. Even if those companies don't pay dividends, you're like creating your own dividend stream. It's a great way to make use of the assets that you own. One might say, and I do, it's a good way to maximize your cash flow. That is one of the ways that I suggest people maximize their cash flow using an asset. It's just like owning another house, a second house. You're not just going to sit on it and wait for it to appreciate. You're going to rent it out, and you're going to make some money on it while it's appreciating. You can essentially do the same thing with your stocks. You can do the same thing with the shares you own. Mr. B says, hey, can we drop a like on this, everyone? We got about 8 viewers, not a whole lot. I don't know why we don't get more viewers on these. People apparently don't like to talk about finances too much. Or maybe it's just too late in the day. People are tired. Or maybe it's me. People just, we don't attract a whole lot of viewers to these. But man, I do enjoy answering your guys' questions. Mr. Smith says, yeah, especially if you can afford 100 shares of Amazon, you can make thousands per week selling calls. Absolutely. Now, here's the thing. 100 shares of Amazon will cost you $300,000. You should be able to make thousands per week. But really, I mean, you could sell calls each week and make like $5,000. You actually get a much better return on your money. Actually, no, I don't even think it's $5,000. It might be like $3,000. I think you get a better return on your money with Tesla shares. Because not a lot of people can afford those Amazon calls. Ronald, good evening. You find my advice useful, especially the story about the uncovered call. Okay, good. Yeah, that's quite the story. Quite the learning experience. I definitely paid the price for that learning experience. So, definitely something for people to learn from and not repeat. And it does make for a pretty good story. Anybody else have some horror stories? Oh, BDN, I didn't say hi. How you doing this evening, my friend? You got to let me know when you get that full self-drive vision only upgrade. Let me know how that goes. Mr. B, thankfully no. Okay, no horror stories. Good. Good. I'm just looking at it as lessons learned. And if we can share, if people have them, they can share them. Share those stories so other people can learn from them, not repeat it. BDN, you'll be attending the Model S refresh delivery on June 3rd in the evening engineering team party. Nice. Enjoy. That should be fun. Ronald says, question, would you say that you learn more from your negative experiences in trading or the wins? I definitely learn from the negative experiences because those hurt. You know, you tend to, I think you learn a lot when you get burned. Not everybody does, but like what I do is if I get burned, I want to know why. I want to know what happened. I analyze it. If I get a nice win, I don't do so much analyzing. I notice I do more with the negatives. So yeah, I would say I learned more from the negatives. BDN, you're 27, so with time, you're sure you'll experience some. Let's hope not. Let's hope you learn enough from your time spent listening to other people that you can avoid them. M. Smith says, TDA only lets you sell covered calls. You can't sell calls unless you own 100 shares of Tesla. So you have all the downside risk. Selling the call isn't worth it on a volatile stock. It can be worth it. There are ways around that. There are things that you can do to sell it without actually owning 100 shares. That's what we call the poor man's covered call. A poor man's covered call, you just buy a call option at a lower strike price, and you can sell a call option at a higher strike price. And you could do it on an earlier date. So one of the things you could do, you could, let's say you buy Tesla at 550 strike price for December, or let's say January 1st, 2022. Tesla, January 1st, 2022, 550 strike price will cost you $14,455. That means your break even on Tesla is going to be at $699. $699. Oh, you just need to get approved for it. So if you go in and you just ask them to bump it up, they'll say, "What do you know about options? Why should you be able to do it?" And you just have to answer the questions right. You know, I answered the questions. I know everything about options. So I said I'm an expert and I have years of experience with options, and they approved me for doing all the good stuff. So 550 covered call, or 550 call on Tesla, 144.5, $14,455. And then you sell, let's say June 18th, you could sell the 700 strike price for $655. That's above your break even. If Tesla happens to hit that, you'll make a little bit of money. You'll make the $655 plus a little bit extra. You don't have to sell them at that. If it ends up lower than that, you just keep the premium. If it goes over it, you can always just roll it. You could keep rolling it and keep making some premium every single week. If the stock price goes down, you can always lower that strike price. So the risk is Tesla goes under 550, right? The risk is Tesla goes under 550. What's the worst case scenario in this situation? If you owned, let's say Tesla goes to 500. If you owned 100 shares of Tesla and Tesla went to 500, you incur all of that loss. So if you bought it right now at 620 and it went to 500, you just went down $1,200, $12,000. $12,000 you went down. Okay. However, if you owned this option, it costs you $14,000. If Tesla goes to 500, there's still going to be some time value. So it depends on when it goes to 500. There'll still be some time value, but the most you can lose is that $14,000. So if Tesla goes down to 400, if you owned the shares, you would be at a $22,000 loss. If you owned the option, the most you can lose is that $14,000. So it's safer to own the option and sell against it than it is to actually own the shares. Now you can go lower on the strike price and not pay as much time premium. So you could go down to, so our break even at 550 was $699 when we add in the cost of that option. If you go to the 500 strike price, it's only $17,400, so your break even is $674. You go to the 450, your break even's at $657. Go to the 400, it costs you $24,000, but your break even is at $645. That's still putting out $24,000. That's a lot less than putting out $62,000 for 100 shares. but you still get to trade like you own the full 100 shares. So it's all in every scenario, just about, there is a way to utilize call options to be in a better position financially than to just own the shares outright. So I love options. You just got to understand how to use them and how to use them effectively in place of owning the shares. Mr. B, been watching me for a while. You're definitely learning. Good, good, good. All right, that was a long diatribe on options and calls and something you could do with Tesla in place of owning the shares. And you could apply that to any stock that has options. There's a lot of stocks out there that you can sell options against. So let's see. What else out there? Who else has questions out there? Anything I can help you with? My time is yours for another 30 minutes. How can I help? Beyond just this Q&A, I'm going to put a link to my Calendly in the chat. You'll see that pop up right about now. You can always sign up for a one-on-one meeting with me. I do one-on-one consultations. I offer free consultations. Initial one free for anybody. You can always do a paid consultation with me if you want to talk about cash flow maximization, your situation in particular. You can apply for life insurance. You can work with me to design a high cash value policy. There's no cost to those meetings ever, so you don't have to pay. You could if you just want to get a time slot that's otherwise not available. I have been meeting with a lot of you folks, and it's been awesome. I love meeting with you guys one-on-one. But it does keep me very busy. I think some of my meetings are booked out through early June at this point. M. Smith, you were looking at buying Amazon 3000 call. Sometimes the bid-ask spread is $2. Sometimes it's 6 to 7. How much do you think is enough for volume? Is 100 volume enough? I'm not familiar with Amazon enough. 100 volume does not sound like much. I don't usually look at the volume, though. I usually look at... Hello, Miriam. I usually look at the open interest. Volume does matter, but open interest matters as well. Open interest is how many of those options are actually out there open. Volume is how many are trading that day. So you do want to see some action on whatever strike price you're going in. And the closer to the money, the more volume you're going to see. So on Amazon, if you go to expiring this week at the money, you got open interest 609, volume almost 5,000. So that one's plenty liquid. The key when you're trading these options is you do want to make sure there's liquidity. You'll tend to see more liquidity at those even numbers. So 3,000 tends to be more liquid than 3,005, 3,010, right? At the 3,100, open interest 193, volume 73. Not great. 3,000, this is the call option, which you probably wouldn't do a 3,000 call option. It's way in the money. 303 interest, volume 48. Not great. You go puts, 3,000 strike price for the put. That one's probably got some volume. 1,504 open interest, 668 volume. So a little more. And those are cheap. $37, $40. Miriam says, what's the number or email to reach me about insurance? That's the link right up there. You see the sign up to meet with me for one-on-one? www.calendly.com/cashflowpro. That is the best way to, you just go into that Calendly, pick a time slot, sign up for a meeting. I meet with you via Zoom, and I get to share my screen with you. I show you how we design the policies. I go over design. You know more than most agents do after that meeting about how to design a proper policy and what's going to impact the costs, how we keep the costs down early on in the policy, maximize that cash value, and even as the policy ages. So depending on if we're looking at IULs or whole life, there's different ways we can manage the policy in order to maximize the cash flow with it. Tala, good evening. When would you think crypto markets should get back to normal? What's normal in the crypto market? First, let's define normal. The crypto market's always volatile. So, I mean, it seems kind of normal right now. I know it's hard when it drops and it goes up and, it can drop 50%. It seems to have stabilized a little bit since 2 weeks ago when it really dropped. It came back up, dropped back again, and now it's kind of back up. We're tending to see a little more stability now. I haven't seen Bitcoin's around 38,000. It's been 38,000, 40,000 for the last few days. Doge has been right around 33 to 35 cents for the last few days. So what I've noticed, and I don't pay attention to it constantly, but I do see some stability at the moment. The nature of the market, though, the crypto market, it's volatile. So something can come out on Twitter. Elon Musk can tweet something and cause a drop or a gain. Other people can do the same. There's all kinds of ways. There's all kinds of things out there you got to watch out for that'll make it go up or down a lot. So just be careful. But normal, I don't know what normal is in the crypto market. All right. Anyone else out there looking for some help? I had, if anyone's looking for a business credit card, I signed up for a Chase business card. I got the Chase Business Unlimited, something like that. Yeah, Business Unlimited. Came with like an 80,000 mile bonus. You just had to spend a certain amount. And in the first 3 months. You have to spend a certain amount in the first 3 months. But they have this neat thing where you can refer people. If you refer, you can refer up to 5 businesses per year. And you'll get a bonus 20,000 miles for each referral. So I am going to share that referral link in here. If anybody has a business, you want to check this out, I'm going to share my referral link. And if you get one, you'll get a referral link, and you can share that around as well. But you can do that up to 5 businesses per year. So you can get an extra 100,000 bonus miles just from referrals. That's a pretty cool deal. And it's actually been a pretty nice card. I got 0% interest for like a year and a half, something like that. If you're using, the thing I love about a business card, if you actually use the 0%, which I like to do, I like to maximize the use of it. So I'm going to run with it up close to the limit until that 0%'s up, and then I'm just going to pay it off. But when you do that with a business card, it doesn't impact your credit. When I do that with a personal card, I have some 0% cards on my personal side. And if I run those up to the max, my credit gets dinged for it. So I was running at a close to 800 credit score. I got some 0% cards. I actually use them. And my credit score got dropped down into the low 700s. I'm like, come on. It really doesn't represent more of a risk. I'm not paying any interest on this stuff. But they'll ding you for it. So when I'm using my business card, I don't have to worry about it. So if you have a business, check it out. Use my, did it not give a link? It didn't post the link. Let me see if I can do this again. Let me see if I can get the link in there. Let me see if I can get that link. There's the link. Hang on a second. All right, there's the link. There's the link. Oh, they're doing 100,000 bonus points. Huh. Cool. All right, so there's the link. Hot Flying, good evening. Good to see you too. Mega Shanes, good evening. Do I think AMC will hit $50 on Friday? No, I don't think so. I think there's a lot of FUD out there getting people to think it'll hit $50 because they want to see it go up higher so they can get out of it and make a nice profit. Oftentimes you'll see these outrageous targets that just get put out by bots and whoever, people with an interest in seeing the stock go up. They'll say $50 and they'll clear out at 25. It's like Doge, the big push to $1. Did it make it to $1? No, everybody sold at 75 cents. So that was the highest it got. But because the rumor is $1, that's the goal, it creates liquidity for all these big whales to sell out at 75 cents and to get rid of a large amount of coins. So you got to watch out for that. You got to watch out for those things. Who's putting those prices out? How did they come up with $50? $50 is a pretty even number. I don't see anything in the charts that says $50. So I think it's just a random number that somebody picked and the bots ran with it. Aaron, good evening. Way Out West, good evening. Hot Flying says solar mining is going to help Dogecoin. Think about it. Solar mining, get the Dogecoin for the long term. I mean, yes, using renewable energy to mine any of the cryptos should be good in long term. It's less expensive, better return on your investment. It's clean, doesn't hurt the environment. I think it's good. Aaron, how long is an index lock last? And if it goes over at the lock, do you get the new rate? Good question. You're talking about Allianz's index lock that they have available. Allianz has two different ways you can lock their index. One is a manual lock. That means you can go and look at it, your policy on any given day, and you can just click the button, go through the steps, and lock in whatever the rate is at the end of that day. That's one way to do it. So in that case, it'll just lock it at whatever it's at. The second thing is what they just came out with. They just came out with an auto lock feature, which means you can go in ahead of time and just say, if it goes over this rate, lock it in. And if it ends the day above that, you're going to get it locked at whatever that rate is. At any time before it locks, you can take that off. You can undo it. If it locks and you don't want it to lock, like if you just go in and manually lock it, you can call them and have them undo it before the end of the business day. If it makes it to the end of the business day, you're out of luck. It's going to be locked, and it'll be locked whether it's an auto lock or a manual lock. It'll be locked until your next anniversary date. So whenever your policy renews, it's locked whether it goes up or down. So if you lock it at 10%, it goes up to 12% gain, you still are only going to get the 10% gain. But if it drops down to 5%, you still get the 10% gain. So you got to do it at a rate that you're happy with. I happen to have locked mine last week, 2 weeks ago. I think it was a couple weeks ago. I can't remember. I went in, I used the new feature, and it was at 12% and change. And I said, oh, you know what? I'm going to be pretty happy at 13%. So I'm locking it in. So I want to lock it in at 13%. If it goes over 13%, lock it for me. It was like the next day, it went over 13%. I actually got it locked at 13.58. That was what it ended the day at. So now I use Bloomberg and PIMCO, and I locked the PIMCO in at 13.58. My Bloomberg is still running. Bloomberg was only at like 3.5%. I didn't want to lock it in there. But because I borrow money out of my policy, By locking in that 13% rate, that guarantees me, because 50% of my portfolio is now locked, that guarantees me on my whole portfolio 6.75% interest rate. It would have been 6.5, but I got 13.58. So I actually got 6.74. 6.74 is what I'm guaranteed. That's if Bloomberg returns 0. So I'm letting that one run. I'm letting the Bloomberg one run. Hot flying, good night. See you in the morning, man. So I'm letting my Bloomberg one run, and from the time I could have locked it, when I locked my other one, it was at 3.5. Now it went down to 2%. I still have like 4 months to go. So I'm gonna wait. I'm gonna wait to see that go back up. I'm gonna give it a chance. Meanwhile, I'm gonna be fine even if it goes to 0, because I'm gonna arbitrage. I'm getting more than it cost me to borrow my money out of the policy, and that's cool. So I'm happy with that. Hot Flying asks, I think that's why Tesla's buying up all this land, so he can start a solar farm for mining. He thinks Warren Buffett or someone also bought land. Oh, that could be. That'd be nice. Way Out West says, thoughts on insurance policy laddering. I'm cool with it. I kind of do it with my own policies. It's not something you want to do. You don't want to just start policies all at once just because you want to ladder them. Like, you're better off just doing one big policy. But there's nothing wrong with having different policies that mature at different times of the year. So I make sure that that's what I do with mine, because I pay some of my policies in November. I pay some of them in February. I pay some in April. I have another one in September. So I've got mine kind of spread all over the place. So I can put money into one, pull money out of it, put money into the other ones when those ones come around. My main goal is maxing out on all my policies each year. I want to hit that MEC limit. So laddering works out really good for me. I have no issues with it. The main thing is you got to do it for the right reasons. And usually it's because you're just signing up for different policies at different times. You know, you might do one this year, do it in January. Next year, if you want to sign up for another policy, don't do it in January. Do it a little bit later. That way you have different renewal periods, different times that you can put in your money. You just don't want everything to come due all at once on a bunch of different policies. I mean, you might be fine with that, but it might make it a little harder sometimes if you just don't have the liquidity available. M. Smith says, CNBC article on zero interest credit cards never mentioned that if you run it up, it hurts your credit score because you're using more of your available credit. That is so important. Thank you. You're welcome. Yeah, you got to watch out. You got to watch out. It definitely uses more of your available credit, and that will tank your score more than anything. That is a huge impact on your credit score, how much credit cards you're using. So yeah, be careful out there. Hot flying, you're waiting for Kwame Brown to come on YouTube. Kwame Brown, what does he do for you on YouTube? The name sounds familiar. Way Out West, you're referring specifically to using policy loans to pay for new policies. I mean, I have no issues with that. I'm totally fine doing that. What is the best use of the money in your policies? That's the only question I ask. If the best use of that money is to start another policy or to fund your other policies, go for it. And that can often be the case. For me, I always try and hit the MEC limit on my policies. So to borrow from one policy to help hit the MEC limit on the other one, it's a great use of my dollars, I think. If I have dollars somewhere else that I can put in as new premium, I may do that first as opposed to borrowing it, right? It just depends on where your money is available. Now, I tend to not sit with just cash available. I want to have cash sitting. I don't want cash sitting in my accounts, in my checking account or savings account. I want to have that cash sitting in a policy. That's where I keep my emergency funds. So if I have a premium due on a different policy, I can pull that out of the policy. That's a loan, but I consider it just like using cash. So I don't view it any differently. Sure, I got to pay interest to pull it out, but that's just the cost of using money. And I'll pay it back eventually. So yeah, I mean, when it comes down to it, you just have to ask yourself, is this the best place to get money? It may be your life insurance policy. It may be somewhere else. But I don't ever look at just taking money from a life insurance policy just because it's a policy. There's not really any advantage to just taking money out of your policy because it's out of your policy. Aaron says, do you sell deferred income annuities, indexed variable, and quick difference? I do. I am licensed to do annuities, although I don't hardly do any annuities. It's just not the focus of my practice. I don't do variable annuities. I'm not licensed to do any variable stuff. I'm not really interested in doing that either. I don't see the advantage to having annuities that are in the stock market. I would rather just be in the stock market. You tend to pay more fees if you go through an insurance company to be in the actual stock market through the insurance company, as opposed to just going into the stock market and investing. So the indexed ones, I do like the indexed ones. The indexed annuities, very similar to the indexed universal life policies, except the caps are a lot lower. Not usually a good opportunity to earn money in the annuities. Typically, how I prefer to look at them and use them is for whatever the guaranteed roll-up rates are. There's usually some good roll-up rates where they'll guarantee you like 7% growth a year, 6% growth a year. Not for the cash growth in it, but for what will count towards turning it into an income stream down the road. So that's what I like to look at for those. So the quick difference between indexed and variable annuities, it's basically you're either in the stock market or you're not. The indexed annuities, it's just indexed to some type of fund in the market, but your money's not actually in the market, so you get that downside protection. Downside is, there's low caps. Upside for the deferred income ones, there's usually some pretty good bonus options and some good guaranteed roll-up rates. So it matters what you're trying to do with them if you want to use it. For the most part, I would rather just do a life insurance policy if you can qualify, as opposed to doing the annuities, because the cap rates are so much higher and you get a nice big death benefit, bigger than what the money you put in. With an annuity, your death benefit is just the exact amount you put into the policy. So there's not really any benefit other than it's deferred, it's tax deferred, and you're going to get some guaranteed income that comes out. So there are some reasons to do it. But my preference is to look at life insurance first, as opposed to using an annuity. But it all depends on what you're doing. If you're doing it inside a retirement account, an annuity may make sense. Just because you may not want to pull it out of the retirement account yet. You might want to turn it into a guaranteed income stream. I used to do that before I started focusing on life insurance. I would work with the teachers to do that. Mega Shanes said, same as you, it's dead money if it's not working. Oh yeah, referring to money sitting in a checking or savings account. Yeah, I agree. I don't like it to just be idle. I call it idle funds. I don't like idle funds. Prefer to keep all of my assets working for me the best that I can. We got about 10 minutes left for tonight's meeting, or tonight's live stream. So if you guys got questions, put them in the chat. It looks like I'm all caught up at the moment. Happy to help you guys. Be sure to hit that like button. Subscribe if you're finding some value here. Feel free to join my Patreon or join us as a YouTube channel member if you want access to our Discord, where we talk stocks and crypto and anything else having to do with cash flow. Always welcome you guys to join us there. And if you're getting a ton of value, you can always do a super chat. Send me a tip. Let me know how we're doing. Always appreciated. So whatever way I can provide you guys value, just let me know. I'm going to put my link again for the one-on-one consultations. Feel free to sign up if you want to meet with me one-on-one. I got a bunch of different meeting options. We can do free consultation on whatever you want to talk about. There's other consultations you can pay for consulting on cash flow. I do an options education consultation while the market's open. That one's going to cost you a little bit more because you're taken away from time I can just be trading. But I'm certainly happy to help out and help you do a better job. I work with a few people, helping them learn options. And then, of course, we can always meet and talk about life insurance. Mega Shane says, income protecting insurance is worth having. Is that a statement or a question? Looks like a statement. And I would agree. Income protection is where most of the death benefit comes from. So that's usually how we get the big death benefits, is if we do it as an income protection. We can calculate that by taking whatever your earned income is, multiply it by a certain factor, depending on how old you are. Oftentimes we can get 30 times your income. That's the maximum death benefit you can qualify for. So if you make $100,000 a year, you could qualify for $3 million in death benefits. A1 says how to deal with a prospect who contacted you to learn about IBC, but does not necessarily have a good understanding of what it is. Sit on the phone and educate, send videos, or ask them to read books. I would do both of the second two options. I highly recommend people watch my videos first. And the reason I have them watch it first is because if they're going to meet with me and talk to me about it, it's like drinking from a fire hose. There's so much that we can go into. And if they're not already familiar with the concepts, it's just going to go right over their head. So I would send them some video links and I would say, check these out. Also, I've got links to a couple of great books in all my videos. Infinite Banking Concept, Nelson Nash, Becoming Your Own Banker, and The Retirement Miracle. Nelson Nash's is about whole life insurance and the infinite banking concept. The Retirement Miracle is about IULs. So I've got the two major products that I work with, and I got them covered on those books. Now I also happen to have one of those books, The Retirement Miracle, in an electronic format. Pretty sure that's the one I have in electronic format that I can just send people. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, I think that's a great way to do it. When people read those, they get a really good understanding. They're going to understand it way better if they watch the videos and read the books, as opposed to somebody trying to explain it over the phone. I would not want to try to explain it over the phone under any circumstances. That is an uphill battle you do not want to take on, because everything you're talking about is abstract. And people who are not familiar with it may not even be familiar with life insurance, let alone this niche that requires knowing a little bit more about how they work. Trying to explain that over the phone without visuals, oh my gosh, what a nightmare. I wouldn't try to do that. So I'd say the most effective is videos. This is the focus of my channel. This is where I get all of my life insurance business. I don't do any marketing. I don't buy any leads. I only talk to people who watch my videos and sign up for a consultation with me. And it keeps me really, really busy. You got to get some good videos put out there so that people can get a good grasp of the concepts, can understand that you know about the concepts and you know how to talk about them and you know what you're talking about. You're putting yourself out there as an expert in the field. And people self-select. If they like your personality, if they like you and what you're talking about and think that you're somebody they can work with, they'll call you. They'll meet with you. And that's what I tend to see a lot of. So I don't have to do a whole lot of work outside of that. People just watch the videos, they learn. Because I'm so transparent on all my videos, and my goal is to have all of the information that they need in the videos. Every single bit of information in the videos. That's my ultimate goal. I'm not there yet, but I hope to be there soon, because I'm not going to be around forever. Aaron, thanks for subscribing. Welcome to the cash flow community. I'm not going to be around forever. So if I get hit by a bus, I want my clients to be able to understand what's going on with their policies. I want them, as they get older, to be able to point their kids to these videos so their kids know what type of policies their parents own, because they may need them to help manage their money later on when they get older. We're going to need other people besides me knowing what's going on in these policies. So my goal is to educate my clients so that they know exactly what's going on in these policies and how to manage them in the future. And I'm going to do that not one-on-one by explaining everything to them every single time. We're going to put it out in a video so that one time I do the video can work multiple times. It can work 24/7. Makes it a lot easier. Let's see. Aaron asks, can you use infinite banking as a monthly checkbook? Yeah, kind of. You probably can. It's not the best use of an infinite bank policy. I would highly recommend you get a line of credit that you can do as a checkbook, and just transfer money back and forth from your infinite banking using that every once in a while. You could do that once a month. Transfer as needed. But it's so much easier if you have a line of credit and you can just move your money instantly. Moving it in and out of an infinite banking policy, it's a lot slower, and it can take days. It can take 2 weeks. If you don't have a lot of money in your account already, you send in money, it's going to need to settle before they release it. That might take 10 days for those funds that you just put in to settle, and then they'll send it back to you. So you got to realize there's a delay. Insurance companies are not banks. They're not as efficient at transferring money. It can be quick if they already have money. If you have money available in there, it can take a couple of days through a company like Guardian, where they'll just transfer it right into your bank account. But sometimes it can take longer. So you just got to be aware of the limitations. C, good evening. Are stock options worth getting into, or do you think buy and hold is the best strategy? It seems like if you become educated enough in options, you can make a lot of extra gains. I am a huge options fan, and I agree. If you know how to use options, you can make a lot of extra gains. It can be a much, much better use of your capital. And safer. It can even be safer. It all depends on how you use them. That's why I'm working on putting together an options course so that I can show people how to maximize their cash flow using options. You want to maximize that income return using options. There's so many different approaches to it. You can use options to maximize the number of shares that you own in the long run. Okay. For the most part, I'm not a big fan of entering positions by just buying stock. I would rather enter a position by using options. It's so much better return on the money invested if you utilize options. So keep an eye out for that. It's been a challenge finding time to sit down and work this out, and I'm constantly changing what I want to focus on for this course. I want it to be comprehensive for options, but I also want it to be kind of focused on what is going to be the best method to teach people with utilizing options. And I mean, I've got the number of topics that I want to put in this course right now is like this big. And I need to narrow it down to this big. Because otherwise it's just unwieldy and it'll take me forever to finish it. And I'm probably not going to ever be happy that I've gone into enough detail on it. And I don't want people to get overwhelmed with it. I want them to understand. I want them to understand the simple concepts that they can put into practice right away without becoming an expert on everything options. Because you don't have to be. You don't have to be an expert on everything options in order to make them work good for you. So that's the challenge I'm at, trying to figure out how I'm actually going to put this course together. But when I do, when I get it done, you guys will know about it. I will put it out there. M. Smith asks, has anyone heard of studies about options traders and if they beat the index long term? Is it like day trading and almost no one beats the index long term? I have not heard. That's a good question. The thing is there's so many things you can do with options. It's not even like day trading. Like there's so many different ways to use options. So it might be hard to do a study. It might be really hard to do a study. I think if you just looked at options themselves, the vast majority of options expire worthless. But that doesn't tell you anything, because you don't know who owns those options when they expire worthless. I could have owned an option all the way up until the last minute of expiration and then sold it back to a market maker for a profit. And then it expires worthless a few minutes later because the stock price moved. I could have bought the option off of somebody else who made a profit on it and then lost money on it and expires worthless. Somebody made money on that exact option, somebody didn't. They could have bought it, made money on it, sold it to me. I make money on it. I sell it to somebody else. They make money on it. They sell it to somebody else and they lose money on it. There's so many different ways that this thing can go. So I think it'd be really hard. It would be really hard to do a study and figure out exactly who's making what without knowing when they got into it, what was their goal. Some people buy options as hedges. Some people buy them just to make money. That hedge may expire worthless, but it served its job. And it allowed the other position that they were hedging against to make money. That's a successful options trader. But it may not look like it because it lost. It didn't gain in value. It just lost in value. So there's so many different approaches there. Probably impossible to figure that out. Low Roller, good evening. GameStop and AMC stock going up means Dogecoin is next. I don't know if that's what that means, but that's always a possibility. Mega Shanes has a policy which covers income and medical and house and contents and car with the bank. They have been great. Okay, that sounds good. That's pretty comprehensive. It's not the kind of policies that I create, and it's likely you're working with a company that can't design them that way. I mean, that's usually if somebody does all of those different things, they usually don't give their agents the option to be able to optimize them. But that doesn't mean they can't perform and do what you need them to do in a very well manner. So that's good. If it's working for you, way to go. Low Roller says McDonald's are desperate for workers. They offer free iPhones. I saw that article. You need to go look at other meme stock and crypto memes. People will get greedy to earn more money. Why do I need to go look at it? I need to try not to get greedy. C says, cool, thanks. You need 25K in Robinhood account to do options. Is that right? No, absolutely not. I don't even think you need, no, you only need like $500. You don't even need, you could do options anytime with Robinhood. All you got to do is apply for them. You just go in, ask for it, and they'll approve it. I opened my wife's account, I think with $500, and I was doing options in there on Robinhood. Low Roller is scared doing options since he's scared losing money. Scared money don't make money. You ever heard that? M. Smith, good points. Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. All right. We've gone over an hour. Yeah, day trading has the 25K threshold. Yep. Day trading is that. All right. We've gone over an hour. I'm going to have to let my voice rest. It has been a long day. I'm going to be back on in the morning, opening up on the live stream. Mega Shanes, your daughter wants a new iPhone. You should tell her. There you go. All she got to do is work for McDonald's. Way Out West, have a good night, you two. I'm going to play you guys out with some music. And in the meantime, go maximize your cash flow. And if there's anything I can do to help, let's get together. Have a good one.